All right, so let's pick right back up where we left off looking at the current ratio. Just a very quick little example of how the current ratio works, right? Current assets divided by current liabilities. So you're looking at current assets, and we're trying to compare two companies here, Wilson and I want to say it's missing an N, Menendez, I don't know. But the idea is you look at these and you go, wow, Wilson's a much better company. They've got way more money. Not necessarily, right? So if we went with the current assets divided by current liabilities, you can divide current assets divided by current liabilities. They've got a 1.1 ratio, whereas Menendez has a 2.3 ratio. What does that mean? That means that for every $1.10 of assets, they've got $1 of liabilities. They're not too far ahead of the curve there. Whereas Menendez has $2.30 of assets to every $1 of liabilities. They are far more liquid, right? So, which company is more solvent? Menendez is more solvent. Okay, so don't just look at numbers. What the point is of ratios is it's a comparison tool, number one. And number two, it's a way to compare different companies of different sizes. All right. Oh, one more thing. So if you wanted to, you could also look at the working capital. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the words. Working capital. Working capital is how much cash does a business have to work with, right? So if they took all of their assets and took away all of their liabilities, what would they have left to grow their business? So you just subtract one from another. Current assets minus current liabilities. You're looking at 150,000 there. You're looking at 130,000 here, right? Assets minus liabilities. So really, Menendez has far more capital to work with based on their size. I mean, technically Wilson has more, but based on our size, Menendez has far more cash to do things with, right? More capital to do work with, working capital. Okay, so let's move into financial statements. Here we have an adjusted trial balance. So if you remember that whole cycle, we start with the adjusted trial balance, right? We did all of our regular entries, we did all of our updates to our ledgers, and we did our adjusting entries, and we did all of our adjusted all of our ledgers again. So what we're left with at this point is an adjusted trial balance, right? These are the totals of all the ledgers, right? You have $1,300 in cash, you've got $1,500 in accounts receivable, and so on. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to prepare them in order. You start with your income statement because you have to, right? And the income statement only has revenues and expenses. So if you look here, service revenue, $13,800, comes on over to here. And what I like to do is I like to cross them off as I go. So this way I make sure I got everything. And just kind of a helpful way for when you're doing it for yourself. So $13,800. There's no other items of revenue, so that's it. And then we subtract all our expenses. And if you look, they're right here, very convenient. But one thing I'm going to point out to you is the typical way it's presented is it's presented in order of size. The highest expenses come first. So we've got rent expense, we cross it off. We've got interest expense, depreciation expense, and supplies expense. All right, so in order of largest to smallest. Now, why is it indented? Well, it's indented because that's what we do. That's how we present financial statements. The fact that there's two columns here has nothing to do with debit and credit. It's just a matter of presentation. If there is only one total, the total comes all the way out to the right, as you see with the 13.8. If you have a series of things to add up, it gets indented to the left. All right, so we have to add up all these expenses to get to total expenses, and here you go, you're at $92.50 here. This is my total expenses. Now, the other thing I want to kind of point out here is that this single underline usually means subtotal. And even though you can't really see it, the double underline means final total. Just a little accounting trick for you there, why the lines look the way they do. All right, so now we take one item of revenue, $13.8, minus all of my expenses, $92.50, and we have net income. We made $4,550 this year. Good, great, good for us. All right, we move on to the statement of retained earnings. So retained earnings, if January 1st, let's see. Okay, I don't see any retained earnings in here. It must be a new business, and I bet you if we look back, we would see that it was a new business. Because I want to say we did Dalton Hairstylist in a previous chapter. So we start off with 0. If we had a number in here, though, that's the number we would use. And then what we say is we didn't have anything before, but we made $4,550 this year, so we're going to add that in. Now we're at $4,550. But I did pay my owners out some dividends. Here we go. We find dividends on our trial balance, $1,400. So we paid out $1,400. Cross it off of dividends. That means we made $4,550, and then we took $1,400 out and paid it to our owners. So the earnings that we made, that we actually held on to in the business, retained earnings, is $3,150. Okay. So now we're going to take all of our items of assets and liabilities and stockholders' equity, and we're going to do a balance sheet. And these can be presented this way, where they're side by side, or they could be one on top of each other. We have assets, then liabilities, then stockholders' equity. All right, we present it this way just because it's a small amount of space that we're working with here. And besides, it helps you see that it does in fact balance. All right, so we're going to take cash, right? Start with the most liquid to least liquid. So we have cash, we have accounts receivable, we've got office supplies, right? All these things are short-term assets. Really, there should be a subtotal here, but for whatever reason, my little instructor key didn't give me one. I couldn't modify this. But if I was to stop right here, this would be my short-term or current assets. And then we have our long-term assets, things like equipment. Remember, we depreciate our long-term assets. And if you remember from Chapter 3, these things are tied together. The equipment is tied to the accumulated depreciation on that equipment, right? So I may have bought that equipment originally for $20,900, but I've depreciated it $2,200. So that means, right, you look at the two of them together and you net them for that net book value number. So we've got equipment of $20,900 minus the $2,200 in accumulated depreciation, and that gives me a net value on that equipment of $18,700. All right, so we take all of our short-term assets and our long-term asset, even though I don't have them broken down that way, and that is our total assets of $23,300. Then we move on over here to liabilities. We do the same thing. It'd be short-term versus long-term. Again, I'm not sure why they didn't have it that way, but they're just trying to, I don't know, make it easier, but I think it's easier if they just show it to you properly to begin with, but whatever. Okay, so we have our liabilities left, our accounts payable, interest payable, notes payable, right? And those are our total liabilities. So here they go, $4,000. All right, we have common stock, $16,150. That's the money that's the capital that originally got contributed to the company, $16,150, plus the retained earnings that I would have grabbed from the previous statement, $3,150. That gives me my total stockholders' equity of $19,300. I don't balance yet, but if remember, it's total liabilities and stockholders' equity. So I take the $4,000 liabilities and the $19,300 in stockholders' equity, and there we go, $23,300 I balance. All right. Now I may have done that quickly, but that's really all you need to do. Now each one of these items only goes on one statement. It's not like cash goes in the income statement and in the balance sheet. Cash only goes on the balance sheet. End of story. Revenues only go on the income statement. End of story. Okay, they only go one place. The only thing that carries forward are those totals that you see the arrows here for. All right, that's why I think crossing them off is helpful, because once you use them, and that's it. So as long as you've grabbed every single one of these, you have now produced financial statements. Okay. So I had a little one for you to try to do. I kind of meant to delete that, but I'll show you the solution so that you can pause it and try to do it on your own. I'll leave it in your notes. Okay, so I'll let you do that on your own. And I'll do the same thing here. Put up the solution so that you can take your time and try to produce one of these on your own. Okay? All right. I'm going to pause it, and then we'll move on to talking about closing entries.